Welcome and thank you for joining All In Together for our webinar on workplace rights. Today, we have Sherry Leiwant with us, the co-president and co-founder of A Better Balance. Today, Sherry is going to share a little bit about her personal advocacy journey, her experience working with A Better Balance to create fairer workplaces for women, and what you can do to advocate for yourself and others when it comes to your workplace rights. Sherry, thank you for being here with us, and we will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk on this webinar. As was just stated, I am co-president and co-founder of A Better Balance, and A Better Balance is a legal advocacy organization that we founded nearly 15 years ago. Our mission is to ensure that workers can care for their families without risking their economic security. And along those lines, we work on issues related to paid leave, pregnancy, caregiving discrimination, and flexibility in the workplace. We've been working on passing legislation in states and cities around the country, guaranteeing workers paid sick days, paid family leave, and reasonable accommodations in pregnancy. And we also run a legal clinic. We're passionate about getting the word out to workers about their rights in the workplace. So thank you again so much for giving me this opportunity. We have had a dramatic impact on the landscape of rights in this area. We've now helped pass paid sick time laws in 12 states, paid family leave laws in 7 states in Washington, D.C., and pregnancy accommodation laws in 25 states. We're working at the federal level as well on all of these issues, and we hope it won't take too long before all American workers have these rights. Sharing my personal story, I went to law school really because I wanted to use the law to make change. And I basically worked on issues around poverty and particularly around women in poverty, on welfare issues. I wrote articles and I litigated some test cases, including a few that went to the Supreme Court. And during the time that I worked at the Welfare Law Center, I had my 3 children, and after my first child was born, I worked 4 days. After my second child was born, I worked 3 days. After my third child was born, I took some real time off. When I went back to work, when my youngest started school, I went to work for Now Legal Defense and Education Fund, which is a women's rights organization, and I ran their anti-poverty project. So I worked on issues where women's rights intersected with poverty issues. In 2005, with a lot of my colleagues from Now Legal Defense, we founded A Better Balance. At that time, there was a lot of talk, a lot of publicity about women opting out of the workplace when they had children. And having had some experience with that myself, and all of us who started ABB had some experience with the struggles that you go through to balance your work with your family responsibilities. And so we really wanted to work on those issues because we also recognized that as hard as it was for us, for women with even fewer resources, it was going to be even harder for them. And the fact of the matter was that there were no workplace supports, really none. Women now make up more than half of all workers today. So there's no one at home to care for a sick child or to pick up at 3 o'clock. So we need workplaces that offer paid sick days, that offer paid family leave and flexibility, and that don't discriminate against new parents or pregnant workers. We set out to use our legal skills to make change, and working with coalitions on the ground and people who are really fighting on the ground. We've been helpful. We've been able to do that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our Know Your Rights work, because as I said, around the country, we're working to pass laws in cities and states to strengthen protections for working parents. But passing laws is only the start. Our goal is that women and all workers feel empowered to know their rights and to actually use those laws to help them thrive in the workplace. So therefore, a critical piece of our work has been creating Know Your Rights material, both for laws we've passed and also more broadly. We really believe that knowledge is power. And that's why we made a step-by-step guide to walk through rights in each state around pregnancy and parenting. The state-by-state guide is on our website, and it points out that states and localities often have stronger protections than federal laws, and that you really need to know about sources of protection in all three, federal, state, and local laws. And we've also produced a Working Women's Guide, a pocket guide regarding rights in New York State, and we're hoping to duplicate that for other states. So spreading the word on the fact that workers have rights around their caregiving obligations and around pregnancy is really, really important in making change in workplaces, and that in ensuring workers are protected. So really encourage people to know what their rights are, and to share that information with others, people you know, and in groups that you're part of. I wanted to talk about possible advocacy at the local, state, and national levels, but I just wanted to go a little deeper on some of the issues that we're working on. Although it's illegal to discriminate against pregnant workers on the basis of their pregnancy, that's a federal law. That law does not make it illegal to deny a pregnant worker a reasonable accommodation that they might need during the course of their pregnancy. For example, not having to do heavy lifting, getting extra bathroom breaks, even being able to take water with you to some workplaces, like restaurants or factories. There have been prohibitions on that, which can be really terrible for a pregnant worker. But we've now passed laws in 25 states to require employers to give those reasonable accommodations. There's much more to be done, though, both in the remaining states and at the federal level. And there were many active campaigns this year. In those 25 that I just mentioned, we were able to pass laws in Oregon and Kentucky just this year. And although legislative sessions are either ending or have ended, we know there will be active campaigns in some of the states where laws were not passed, and that includes Maine, Ohio, Indiana, Iowa, and New Mexico during the coming year. With respect to paid sick time, it comes as a shock to many people that nearly a third of our workforce in the United States lacks even a single day that they can take off with pay and job protection to care for their own medical or family members' medical needs. This percentage is actually down from 40% when we started this work 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago. And there are now sick time laws in 12 states and 40 localities. This year there were active campaigns in Dallas, San Antonio, and Maine, and laws were passed in those places. And there are active campaigns in Nevada and in some cities in New York. We're hoping to see more in the coming year. With respect to paid family leave, it also comes as a shock to a lot of people that the United States, what an extreme outlier the United States is on this issue. We are the only country in the world besides Papua New Guinea, who is considering a law, to provide no paid maternity leave for women after they have a baby. And we are the only advanced country that has nothing in the way of paid family and medical leave. But things are changing. We have passed paid family leave laws in Connecticut this very session, just a couple weeks ago, and as well as in Massachusetts, Washington State, Washington, D.C., and New York over the last few years, which joined California, Rhode Island, and New Jersey, which already had those laws. There are active campaigns all over the country, and although Connecticut just passed, Oregon is likely to. There will be other campaigns in the next year for sure, in Maine, Colorado, Virginia, West Virginia, New Hampshire, Vermont, New Mexico, and Indiana. And there's also a lot of activity on all these issues at the federal level, which I'll talk about a little more in a minute. So one of the points of this webinar is to say, get involved at your state and local level. Find out if there are campaigns in your state or locality trying to improve laws or pass new laws to support working families, and connect with groups that are doing this work and see how you can help. You are important, and I think that's something that I've definitely learned in the advocacy that we've done. Individuals are very, very important. And ways you can be supportive are, first of all, to educate yourself about these issues. and what's going on in your state and locality. And educate yourself about the positions that your representatives are taking on these issues, and contact them and tell them what you think. Let them know how you feel. If there are campaigns in your state and locality, join lobby visits, lobby day activities to meet with legislators. It's always important at these lobby days to have a really big turnout, and legislators really will listen. For work in localities, I think it's important to know how laws and policies happen at the local level, at your local level, who's in charge of proposing and pushing new laws. Is it the mayor, the legislative body, the county executive, agencies that are implementing the laws? And also understanding exactly what the power of your city or your locality or county is, because it's a little different and sometimes there are restrictions. But one point I really want to make is that although I think individuals are important at every level of government, they are especially important in localities. Local representatives really, really want to hear from you, and they really do listen. And they're particularly sensitive to what voters think, because it's a smaller group, and they're very plugged in. I wanted to move on and just talk a little bit about the federal level, which is the opposite, kind of much more removed. But 2020, the coming year and 2020 there will be a lot of activity at the federal level. And so it's important, I think, to educate yourself on what's going on these issues nationwide. There are federal proposals to improve protections for pregnant workers, called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act, which would give reasonable accommodations to all pregnant workers around the country. There is a proposal to guarantee paid sick days to most workers in the United States, called the Healthy Families Act. And there is a lot of activity now around paid family leave. And we are supporting a bill called the Family Act, which would make a social insurance program piggybacking on Social Security that would give paid family and medical leave to all workers around the country. We expect to see movement on all these bills during the next year. Particularly, there will be movement in the House for sure. So it's really important to find out where your representatives stand on these issues and on these bills. Let them know that you'd like to see them sign on, and you'd like to see them actively support these issues and these bills. And that would really, really, really make a difference. In conclusion, I want to say, visit our website. Our website has information on all the issues I just talked about, and information on active campaigns as well. And it also contains the Know Your Rights material that I mentioned earlier. It's www.betterbalance.org. And we also have a hotline. If you think you have been treated illegally at work due to your caregiving responsibilities, or your need for leave, or due to your pregnancy, call us. The number there is 833-633-3222. And we are developing tools actually internally to let our hotline callers who are telling us their stories to capture those stories and help inform our policy advocacy. So it is really important and good for us to know what's happening to you in the workplace. And we have also been helpful to really thousands of workers over the last 10 to 15 years. So by all means, get in touch with us if you need help. So I just want to end by thanking all the folks at All In Together for letting me highlight our work, and thank you to all of you for listening.
Thank you, Sherry, for joining us for today's webinar on workplace rights. We encourage all of you listening along to get involved and to stay connected with A Better Balance as they continue to advocate for fair workplace practices across the country.